Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre of Majestic Wire Artworks. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these stunning earrings. I've got them laying here because I can't really show them off in my hands quite well. And I should try and zoom in here so you can see the detail. And that's what they look like close up. So, and I'll back out again. There. Okay, so these I am calling my finger swirl swing earrings. And they're a little bit challenging to make, but I think they're well worth it. They are 3 inches long from the top of the ear wire to the base of the earring. And if you want to make them shorter, you will need to experiment with lengths of the chain. So, and I also need to mention you need big enough chain that can fit an 18 gauge wire through that's been hammered a little bit. I will give the link to the specific chain that I have here because I did buy it from BB Craft. I mentioned it later on in the video that I do not make any money off of any BB Craft supplies. So, and I am not affiliated with the store in any way. It's just for ease of getting supplies that I am using that I'm offering you the link of where it is. And so this chain is available through BB Craft, and I have used pink morganite in 4mm beads and 8mm beads, but you could use 10mm in the center as well. So, and that you would just have to find from your supplier, or you know, any type of beads that are round and are in those dimensions would work. They could be faceted too. Faceted beads will fit in there. I don't recommend crystals per se. You can use them, but it would be very easy to break them. If you're well seasoned with wire wrap and you're courageous enough, it would work. But I even broke one of my, I had to redo one of these earrings behind the scenes because it didn't break on the video, but I did break one bead of morganite because it is a more fragile stone for sure. Okay, so let's begin, and I'll see you in a few seconds from now because I've done this in 3 videos spliced together. Okay, so take care. Okay, what you're going to need for supplies is you're going to need your chain. You're going to need 4 1.5 inch lengths of chain. You're going to need 2 1-inch lengths of chain. For wire, you're going to need 2 pieces of 18 gauge wire, 2 inches long, which is 5 centimeters. You're going to need 20 gauge wire, which is 0.81 millimeters thick. I'm not I think the 18 gauge is 1 millimeter thick, but I will double check that and I'll have it in my description in case you need that measurement. We're going to need 2 pieces 2 feet long of 20 gauge wire. 2 feet is 60 centimeters as well. I'll have that in the description as well. And then you're going to need some working wire, which is 20 gauges as well, to make your ear wires. And you can use scraps for this because, excuse me, each ear wire is about 2 inches of wire itself. But I would recommend starting off with 3 inches of wire. So we're making specialty ear wires for this. I probably mentioned that before. And you're going to need for tools a file to file down your ends of your ear wires. You're going to need your round nose pliers, your chain nose pliers, and your flush cutters or snips. you're going to need a ring mandrel for measuring the curve of the bottom of the earring with the 18 gauge wire. You're going to need a hammer, a hammer with the ball end. I think this is called a chasing hammer. And your anvil, and for my anvil, I just have a piece of metal that I got from a metal shop that they gave me for free. I lucked out, and they had the scrap on hand and didn't charge me anything for it. So that was nice. And let's see. Oh, you're going to need a round pencil. Somebody asked me the measurements of this. I believe for an ear wire, it doesn't matter, but there's some pencils that are 6 millimeters in diameter and some are 7. So, excuse me. So, whichever, it doesn't matter in this case. With the other one, I think it did matter. The other tutorial where they asked, it did matter. Okay, and let's see, what else? I think we have it covered. So that's, oh, the beads. You're going to need 6 4mm beads, and you're going to need 2 8mm beads. 10mm beads will work as well, because you're going to want matching beads to your 4mm beads. So, and I'm using gemstone beads, but round works the best. They can be faceted round. It works as well. It gives off a little bit more glint. I haven't tried this design with crystals. By all means, if that's what you want to try, go ahead and use some rondelle crystals. I would recommend the 4mm ones though, but with the C-wrap that we're going to be doing around the little 4mm ones, you need to be careful because you can break the glass on the beads, especially when it's such a small bead. It takes practice. It can be done. I've done it, but it just takes practice. So we're going to start off with making our ear wires. So you're going to need your round nose pliers to start off first. And I like doing it with work hardened wire, but not everybody knows how to do that. So I'm starting off with dead soft. And because we need the front loop to hold the 3 pieces of chain, we need a bigger loop, and we need it in a different direction. So I haven't measured, but I'm going with my round nose pliers a little bit over half the size. After I make the loop, I'm going to measure it so that you know what measurement it is, and it's going to be in millimeters, of course. Okay, go here. The diameter from the outer wire to the outer wire is about 4.5 millimeters. The inner wire is inner to inner is about 3.5. You can see that. Okay, so approximately there. You just want to give the chain ample movement. So right now I have a P. If you look at it this way, it's a P loop. We want to get an I loop. So I'm just bending it there to get the I loop, and I have it a little bit too far bent. Okay, so like that. That's what you want. It's an I because it's the dot on top of the line. And I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to straighten it out. And I'm just going to snip that down. And at this point, I'm just going to show you how to do one. And then I'm going to pause and I'm going to make my second one too. Because I think it's just a repeat of the process. So I'm going to take and work hard in this circle right now. Just by tapping it. Okay, now the next step is pretty much basic. I take my chain nose pliers, the longest part or the widest part of the jaw is 8 millimeters. If yours is 8 millimeters, it's going to save you that work. But you know what? 8 millimeters, 9 millimeters, 10 millimeters, all the difference does is it makes your ear wire longer. So just go with it, whatever your pliers are. So I'm going to bend just a slight bend at that measurement. So not too far, just a slight bend. And what that bend does is it tells us, it shows us in a consistent way where to put the pencil to make the ear wire. Now you're going to take it, now I'm closer to the camera, and you're going to bend your ear wire. Okay, and it's a little bit off. I'm going to move this so it's, and I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to straighten it so that the loop and everything is sitting right. Okay, so now we can hammer this part of the ear wire. And we just lay down the ear wire, the loop on the edge, and hammer. And that'll work harden it. Okay, and then I'm going to go further down the wire and work harden it there. And you'll know you've done a good enough job when it feels fairly stiff, and it's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to snip it off. I'm going to guesstimate where I want it to end, and you can actually make it extra long too. And then you're going to repeat that exact process, and I'm going to come back with 2 of these made. Okay, I'm back, and I wanted to mention that you don't want to hammer. When you're hammering, you're just doing fairly light taps. We're not hammering hard at all, or else you're going to end up squishing the wire too much. I almost did it too much on this one, but it's still usable. There's definitely a difference between the two. So I haven't cut off this yet. So this is what I'm going to do. I think I like the length of this one. It could be a tiny bit shorter, but I think it's okay. And now I'm going to put both of them back on my pencil. And I am going to, I can cut them both exactly the same length by doing this. Get this out of here. And I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter. I'm going to snip both of them at the same time. Now they're precisely the same length. And now at this point, you take your file and sand or smooth out like the 4 edges. I go the 4 sides. You're supposed to do just one direction. Apparently going back and forth gives burrs. That's what they tell you for your fingernails too, but most people don't do that. And then do a couple just at the tip too, because it can sometimes get a point. And then always feel, is it scratching? And no, it's good. Now this one bent on me a little bit. That's okay. Yours does. That's just meant I put more pressure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work harden it a bit more, bend it back, and I'm just going to snap it like this with my pliers. And that work hardens it too. If you don't have a hammer and Anvil, you can do it just by this. It just takes longer to get enough work hardening, but you can literally do it with just your pliers. But you're going to need your hammer for the rest, for the other stuff too. Now the ball point is because the ball peen hammer end of it, is I'm giving the wire, the 18 gauge wire, a hammered look. Now, if you don't have a hammer like that, just use your regular hammer and just give it a flat look. It'll still be beautiful without the extra cost. It's just finding a hammering surface can be difficult for you. I know you can buy them in a jewelry store where you buy the hammers. Sometimes I know that BB Craft sells the hammers and they sell anvils. You can buy a set, I think, there. I didn't purchase mine there, but theirs is different. But that's, you know, all personal choice, right? So anyways, move on from there. So the ear wires are ready to put the final touch, which is just a little bend like that. So this band, all it is for is just to make it easier to get it into your ears, because going like this, sometimes that gets in the way of getting it in your ear with that band. That's all it's for. And if it was even longer, you wouldn't have that issue and you wouldn't need to make that bend. What else can I say about these ear wires? Not much. They're pretty, they're different because the loop is in the front, the loop is bigger, and it's just a specialized ear wire for these earrings. Okay, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to take our 18 gauge wire like this, and we're going to straighten it. Actually, you know, the fastest way to straighten it, because we're hammering it anyways, is just to hammer it straight. And again, it's just gentle taps at this point, because we're not hammering it for anything other than straightening right now. Okay, so that's straight. The next thing I want you to do is take your mandrel, ring mandrel, and see, this is for a ring size 15. I don't know if there really is any people with a ring size 15. I haven't met any, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. I guess there's some men that really have large fingers. Okay, and you're just gonna bend there. That's the curve we want at this time, and do that with both of them. Right at size 15. And remember, this is 2 inches, and you need to be precise to the degree that it doesn't have to be exactly 2 inches, but each of your pieces need to be the same length. Oh, also, one thing for consistency for ear wires, if you forget what size of loop that you used on your pliers and you're going to make the second ear wire, you go back and you put the first earring back on there, and you can mark where it was, and then you know where to put make the loop for the second earring. Okay, so at this point we're going to hammer these flat and strengthen it, and it locks in the curve. We're not doing it too hard again, just trying to lock in the shape. Okay, now we want a small loop on each end of the wire, and you need to be consistent here again. I'm going almost to the smallest part of my round nose pliers to make this loop, and we want the wire to touch itself. So that's about the loop that I want. And do the same thing on the other side, as well as for the other earrings. Earring. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. It's not quite touching itself. Okay, and now you're also going to need your ruler. And we want it to be 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch apart. And look at that, it is. Okay, and you know, if you want, you can even have it so that the loops, the centers of the loops are at those lines. And in order to do that, then you just stretch it out just a smidge. I'm just pulling it a smidge. And there, that's where I've got it. And it's good. So now we need to do the exact same process with the other base. Same size loops. Twisted on me a little bit, but we're going to hammer it flat. Actually, I can just go like this too. And now I want it to touch itself. Got to get that complete. And measure it out. I've kind of bent this one in. I should get these out of my way. It's making everything blurry. Okay, so I've kind of bent that, curved that in too much. I'm going to curve it back out. There. So you got to be careful with that. Let's measure it. Is it at the 1 inch? So it's basically exactly where the other one was, but I'm going to stretch it out so that it matches where it's at now. Okay, and just to double check, let's put them side by side. And you know, there you are. That's the goal, okay? So we want it to be 1 inch apart. We want them to be the same. So the next step, again, is we're not using the ball peen. We're just doing the flat part of our hammer. And I'm just going to work harden it into shape. Not too hard. Okay, now this one is opened up. I'm going to close that. Okay, there, and now I'm going to texturize them, and I'm not going to do it too hard again. Somebody had mentioned to me that when they hammer too hard and then the wire breaks. The key is less is more, and yeah, you don't want to get aggressive with it because copper's soft. Just enough to get that texture. And it's going to curl on you. Okay, I'm just going to flip it over and give it a couple of hits to flatten it. Again, not too hard. And that one's done. And I'll do the same for the other one. Okay, so I have both of them hammered now, and I'm doing the double check to make sure that they're still the same shape sliding away on me. And I think the one opened up a little bit, so I'm just gonna bend it back in, and that didn't take much, and now they're the same again. Okay, so the next thing to do is we're gonna take our 20 gauge wire and our beads. So you've got 2 pieces that are 2 feet long of 20 gauge wire, and I want you to take the ends, put them together, find the center. Doesn't have to be exact. Remember, I've given you extra. I'm giving you extra wire. We're gonna find that. We're gonna pinch it. We're gonna snip this off later, so don't worry about what it looks like. It doesn't need to be neat. The only thing we're doing here is it's easier to work with 2 wires that are together, that it's really 1 wire and to work with. And then the next thing I want you to do is, because it's so hard to get a C-wrap going, because that's what we're doing around the little beads, I'm gonna show you how to get it started in the middle of a wire. Now this is my own technique. No one showed me how to do this. I came up with it. But what I want you to do is take your rulers and measure 4 or 4.5 inches, anywhere in there, from the bent end. And then I want you to take your put the 2 wires together like that, and hold the wire with your pliers like that. Okay, and then I want you to take, doesn't matter which one, but you're going to take 1 wire and lift it up and wrap around the wire. See, like that? And now, and going up, so it's a complete wrap. See that? Complete wrap. And that's perfect to start your C-wrap. Isn't that slick? Okay, so now this is the wire that you will be wrapping around the beads, and the one that stayed straight is the one that you're going to be putting your beads on. So grab one of your 4mm beads, and these are small beads, so it's going to be difficult. Put that on. Okay, so then hug that wire around like that, so it's framing on one side. Okay, hold it down like this, wrap it around. Wrap around the wire just like you did before. One complete, and then it's going to end up being on the opposite side. You're going to cinch it up. Take your chain nose pliers, and this could be difficult. You might need to go at the back and give it a squeeze like this at this point, because we've got nothing to fight against, so you better off to squeeze it in like that. And I'm just going to do it from the front now too, just a little bit there. Now it's nice and snug, and I'm going to put the next bead on. Okay, and virtually do the same thing. Make that wire hug as best you can, and wrap like that. And now we've got a bead here to cinch it up to. We're going to push it together flat like that. And then we also want to level that out so this S is all level, and I think it's ready to put the next bead on. Okay, there we go. I'm going to wrap it again. Okay, so at this point, we are ready to straighten out this wire so that it's equal on both sides. I'm going to actually make it go down and like that. Okay. So at this point, we will then, this is the bottom of the earring right here. We're going to bend this. We're going to go up like this and make it a nice little group of beads like that. And you might need to bend down that bottom C because it tends to go up and it hides the bead. You don't want it to hide the bead. And there, that looks a little bit better. Hope this is pink morganite that I'm using. I don't think I mentioned that before. My prototype was done with turquoise, which really shows up well. But I decided to use pink morganite. Oh, I love that stone. Okay, so at this point, I think you should make a second one so that we can get both of them the same. Okay, so go ahead and make another one of these, and I will as well. I'll join you in a minute. Okay, I'm back with the second one made. So now what you need to do is compare the two and make sure that they are in the same consistency with the shape. Okay, so now we're ready for the next step. So you're going to take your hammered 18 gauge wire and the hammered part. I mean, if it's not hammered, it doesn't matter which one's the front, which one's the back. But if you've got it hammered, the hammered look, then you want to have that at the front. And I'm going to take these wires and just tuck them in up like that to make it easier to wrap this on. And this can get very awkward and difficult, but you want to try and center it and then hold it right there locked so that this is resting against where the wrap is, not under it but above it, like that. Can you see? Okay, and then we're going to wrap this around once, and then this side isn't going to be touching. That's okay. We've got that one, and now we're going to put this one back above, do the same thing. Now it's going to have, hopefully you'll have some movement that you can slide it to center it if you have to. And we're going to do precisely the same thing. And it can be, like I said, difficult. So mine's got lots of movement. My prototype didn't. I was super tight. I'm not sure what the difference was. But now I'm going to just push this in. And I moved the beads a little bit, I think. But that's okay. We'll have to make sure that they're both the same at the end. Okay, and you want it centered. And remember, you're going to be doing, if you want at this point, do your other one this step. I'm only going to show you one, but I want you to do both steps. You can do it separately or all at once. That's up to you. I'm just going to show you one, and I'm going to do the other one offline. My phone's going to end up cutting out here. I'm just going to pause it. I'm going to link the videos all together. So I'll see you in the next one. I'm not going to introduce myself though. Okay, there we go. I'm on the next video and we're linked together. Okay, so what you're going to do here is we're going to do swirls on each side, and we're going to make them go into the center. So this one will go this way and the other one will go this way. So I want you to think of it so you don't get mixed up as we're going into the center. We want to do a tiny finger swirl right there to kind of hide the joining. And it has, see how I just did that tiny little swirl. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now we're going this way into the center of the earring. And we want to do another tiny spiral or swirl. And we want them to look very similar. Okay, so if you want, you can do this step on with your other earring right after this. That's what I recommend doing. And now this, we're going to do another one right beside, and it's going to be a little bit bigger than that one. Again, going into towards the center. So like that, and you want it, oh, you know what? I meant to, but it's okay. I meant to wrap around this, but you know, this will be easier actually than my original plan. So I'm going to show you what my original one was. Okay, just so you can have the choice if you want to do this. So this is actually harder to do. I did the little loop and then I wrapped around the base, and then I did the bigger loop and then I wrapped around the base. So I've forgot to do that wrap, and if it's working out like this, you know what, it's gonna be great. It's gonna, I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place, but anyways, I want now to go above the wire, and I want this to go towards the center, and I'm gonna tuck this in there, and now I'm gonna wrap around the other way, and I want to try and keep this swirl flat, and I might need to take my pliers and straighten it out if it bends too much, but that's where it's at. I actually like this better than my other one, but you see, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody calls me the pro, and I never think of myself as a pro. I think of myself as, I don't know, I'm always experimenting, and that's the look it's got. It's really, really pretty. So anyways, we're gonna try and do the same thing on the other side. So you want to try and same distance, and this can be challenging, same size, and you just tug until it's tight enough, and don't go too tight at first, because it's easier to make it smaller than it is to make it bigger. Okay, and now I'm bending it towards the center, tucking it in there like that, so it's tucked in there, and wrapping it around. And see the loop there bent on me? I'm going to gently twist it back. And now I'm going to wrap, I've got this upside down, I'm supporting the loop and wrap around once. And then hopefully you're not bending the frame. You might be, but if you did, you try and straighten everything out. We want it to look level and flat. Okay, and there, I'm going to fine tune it. Okay, so at this point, we are ready to snip off this wire, and we're going to snip and crimp it in, and then we might have to do some filing, but we're going to try and snip it close as possible. This is the back, close as possible to this frame, like that, and crimp it down. But you're still going to have to file it, guaranteed. Okay, be gentle with the crimping. really didn't need crimping, but yours might. Now, where did I put my file? There it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna, and this, be patient with your filing. You're just gonna do it so that nothing catches. But there's no place to hide a loop end, so that's why we're doing this. Just do the best you can to get it in there. Support the earring as you're filing. There we go. That's good. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. See if I can crimp it in a little bit. Not really. There. That didn't take much, really. Okay, and I'm just seeing that the loops are a little bit off. And there's that piece. And I really like, I like this design a little bit better. I'm hoping that you guys will find it easier to do. So we're going to leave it at that. And I'm going to do my next one now, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back with this second one done. Now I just want to show you, sometimes this can curve on you. Just do your best to straighten it out. I filed the backs, and the key really is to trimming it really close in there, so that you really don't have to file much. Okay, so now the next step here, I just wanted to show you that they're not 100% perfect, and they never will be, but to the naked, I mean, when they're on the opposite ears, you can't tell the difference really, and they're pretty close. I mean, I would say they're close enough. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 1.5 inch pieces of chain and attach it. Now I got to make sure I have my 1 inch and my 1.5 separate. Okay, there's my 2 1 inch, and the rest will be 1.5. Okay, and I attach the chain onto the earring first. And the reason I do that is because if you do it on the ear wire first, you can get it all twisted up going on to the earring. It's easier just to put it on the earring and then put it on the ear wire afterwards. Okay, so you opened that up, and now I'm wiggling it back into position. Okay, I don't open up this way because you'll ruin your earring if you do that. And now I'll do the same for the other side. So you really have to make sure that your chain is big enough that it can handle that wire going into it. Now I bought this chain from BB Craft in a bag opening. I will put the link there. This is not a BB Craft video, and when you buy something from BB Craft, I get nothing from it. I'm not an affiliate. I am not part of their store. I get people ask me questions, and I'm going, I don't work there. I'm just like you. I'm a shopper. Okay, so that's all there's to that. Okay, so then the next step is we're going to make the bead drops with the 8mm, and you know, we're going to use our scraps to do these. So all we're going to do, because we don't want any spirals at the end, we're just going to put a little loop. I'm going to take my round nose pliers and make a little loop as small as can be. Sure, be tricky. I'm going to cut this flat. Start again. Now, I sometimes do a loop like this, but sometimes I like to flatten it. I'm going to do this just because it's easier. If you know how to make them so it's just a bent flat, like this is what I did. It's so hard to show how to do that. So we're going to just do this because it virtually has the same effect. And now put on your 8mm bead or 10mm bead if that's what you're using. Okay, and now we're going to make a loop directly on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold it and we're just going to bend right there. See, like that? And we're going to take, and we want to do the same size of loop for both of them, because if you have different size of loops, it will make a difference with the length of your earring. Okay, so that's what I got. And then I'm going to snip it with the flush cutters. Now I love these flush cutters because they get right in there. Okay, so I'm going to hold it like this and snip in there like that. And now it's ready to put on the 1-inch chain. I'm not even going to close it up. I'm just going to put it directly onto the 1-inch chain. So I guess I need to open it up more. I thought it was open enough. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but if these earrings measure 3 inches in length, if you want them shorter, you just need to modify the length of your chain. Okay, so there, that's done. And that's all there's to that. Okay, now I'm going to make my other one exactly the same. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with the second one done. Now it's assembly time. We've got all the elements done, and we just assemble it. So we're going to take, you're going to take this, you're going to take your ear wire, you're going to open up your ear wire carefully because we don't want to deform it. And we do that by bending it this way forward. Okay, and you're going to let the chain hang and put it on, because then it will go forwards. Okay, sorry, my phone, I bumped my phone and it's bouncing. There. Now we're going to take the chain with the bead and put it on next. And now we're going to dangle this again upside down and put that link on the way it falls, because that way the chain will be as straight as can be so that it hangs nice. And you got to make sure that you're holding it forwards too, because if they're not, you have to take this all off and start all over again. I should have mentioned that before for you. And then you just close the ear wire by pushing it back down. And then I always, whoops, I always flatten it too, like that. And there it is. So I'm going to get the other one done, the exact same thing, and I'll be right back. There, I have both complete. Oh, there we go. And they're beautiful. And I've got this one hanging there, twisted around. There we go. Now they're both. Of course, you've seen them already at the beginning of the video, which I need to take a photo shot and do that. Okay, so thank you for joining me in this video. These definitely are challenging earrings, but definitely worth the work. I think they're gorgeous, and I hope you will as well. So God bless, take care of yourself, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.